All right, let me just check the site on the Facebook page to see if we're live, Mike, and I think we will be good to go for this evening. And we are. I want to welcome everybody. This is our weekly Conversations with Cougars. I got my longtime teammate, classmate, baseball, football, you name the sport. This man, Mike Henry, was on the field and producing and was such a great athlete back in his day. How you doing, Coach? Good to see you tonight.
Well, I tell you what, Nardo, man, it is awesome to get an opportunity to talk with you. And I'm just tickled at what you do for us when it comes to reliving these old memories. And you know, tonight those stories going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
They sure are, and hopefully part of them will be true, or at least some version of them will be true. Oh, we got all kind of folks already rolling in, Mike. Eric Easley, Revis Kirkman. Happy belated birthday, Revis. Twyla Williams, John David Edwards, a bunch of folks. Jason Mullins, they'll be rolling in, Mike, for you tonight.
Yeah, happy birthday, make it hurt, oh Gert.
That's right. Well, for those of you who didn't get the privilege of being a teammate and a classmate of Mike, Mike was a year behind me at Northview. We played football together. He probably had more interceptions in practice of me and of anybody. I'm just so glad number 13 was on our team on Friday nights. And we also played baseball together. Mike was a great pitcher, and we'll get into that for a few minutes. But before we jump back in the day, Mike, tell everybody who of your good news and share with everybody what you're doing now. Well,
first of all, Bernard, you know it's an honor and a privilege to coach and teach young people, but most of all to be able to give back through sports. I'm always appreciative of being able to coach our future, to coach our young leaders of tomorrow, but to be able to coach sports, I'm just tickled to death, and I still love it, still have a passion, and always willing to try to give back, and thankful for like what you do, giving back.
Absolutely. Well, where have you recently landed, Mike, if folks don't know where you're now coaching?
Well, I'm at Carroll High School now and looking forward to a fresh start. And sometimes it's kind of like an opportunity to recharge your batteries, especially when, you get new guys, new atmosphere. It's always kind of very good to have that warm reception to be able to start a new chapter.
Very good. And what are you going to be coaching? What are your responsibilities at Carroll?
Of course, I'm head basketball coach, but also I assist in football. In the past couple of years, I've coached 3 sports, and I only have to do 2 this time around. But like always doing baseball as well, because I get a chance to give back what was so good to me as well.
Excellent. Now, from a football standpoint, do you know what those responsibilities are going to be? Are you going to be with DBs?
Yeah, well, for the first time, no DBs. I'm going to have to do defensive end. So you'll probably see me being a little animated, making sure those ends are slicked up, trying to do a good job of containment, possibly squeezing when we need to.
Well, you might want to, in case your current head coach doesn't know, you might want to drop him a line about number 13 back in the backfield back in the day. Oh, we got so many more folks. Mike, I got to tell you who's rolled in. Coach Randy Hicks, one of your coaches, one of my coaches, but he was coaching on defense. Coach Rick Cleveland. Pat Fitch, Bruce Johnson, Josh Andrews, Ross Morris, some of our teammates, some of your 87 classmates as well. Thank you all for stopping by this evening. So, Mike, let's back up a little bit from Carroll High. I know you were in Eufaula for about 10 years, and I know you coached in some other places. But before we head to our Northview days, take us to college. Take us to your decision and how you got into coaching.
Well, one thing is I still can remember old Coach Parrish when he was talking to us after practice. I like guys that'll work hard, and you guys, I like the way you work and you commit to our program. When I look to hire people, I look to hire guys like you. And if you work hard, I'll hire you one day. And I remember that vividly. And I remember Big E telling the story of working in the summer program. We was called a CETA program. And if you low income or whatnot and you qualified, you can get a summer job. So we qualified to work in the summer program. Guess what? Coach Parrish hired me one summer to work at Northview High School. So I never forgot that. And even when I'm coaching kids, I tell them I'll be glad to recommend them one day to get a job. And I'm thankful for Coach Parrish of having those attitudes and attributes to want to push us to help each other out. But also, my decision to go to college was, I didn't know what it was going to be. I love football passionately, love baseball, and I wound up going to junior college. I really, really wanted to play for Pat Dye, tell you the truth, and play for Auburn. I wanted to be like all those great defensive back, David King Porter, Powell, Tommy Powell at Auburn. I had that poster on my wall. Bud Casey used to come to our practice, him and Mickey Andrews. So I used to try to work hard to impress those guys and maybe play for one of those schools. I know Dawson was at FSU, and we had some other local guys to go to Auburn, but I wanted to join them. But believe it or not, I always had a backup plan. If I didn't play football, I was going to try to play baseball. And also, that was outside chance. You know, Nardo, we were hoping that we were good enough to maybe get drafted. We didn't know what it took in order to get drafted, but of course that didn't happen. And I went to junior college, played for Coach Sammy Frichter, was fortunate to win a JUCO state title. And I was playing summer ball and got recruited by Robert Lucas, which is the brother of the late Bill. He's a brother of the late Bill Lucas, the first African-American GM of the Atlanta Braves. He said, surely you can come to Florida A&M and play for us. So right before I got there, Marquise Grissom had went on to get drafted by Montreal. And I was following his footsteps to be like Vince Coleman, who played at Florida A&M, Andre Dawson, Hal McCray. I wanted to be like those guys and get an opportunity to play in the big. So I went JUCO route, and then I went to Florida A&M and played my last 2 years down there for the Rattlers.
I bet playing for Florida A&M baseball, you probably played some excellent competition in those days. But as you were getting closer to graduation and your eligibility was up, at what point in the process, Mike, did it evolve to you or come to mind? I think I want to start giving back. I think coaching may be where I want to go. And clearly you've made the right decision, but take us back to those decisions, those thoughts of yours back in that time.
Well, my brother Marcus was a big influence in my life. He always coached rec ball. He always coached Little League. And then, of course, looking at my coaches, it always made me wanted to do something like those guys. One thing I will say about our coaches, we had some of the best high school coaches. And I don't just say that fictitiously. I say it because, Coach Parrish, he was our head coach. He coached my brother. He called me by my last name, called me Henry. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. It was like military. And then, of course, I looked up, and there were people like Donald Tribute. I remember Donald Tribute when he was at Carver Junior High. He coached 2 junior high state championship teams along with Wade Marston. He also came and picked us up from Carver Middle School, and he had us all on the back of that little brown Datsun pickup truck. Well, all the other guys got in the back of the truck. He said, Henry, you can ride up front with me. So I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And then, of course, and Coach Johnson and Harry Wayne both would have us on the pickup truck, me, Derek Ward, and Cassie. All of us, we yell out peas, corn, okra on the back of the truck. And Bubba Johnson and our baseball coach, who let us help build the baseball field. I just thought it was so hands-on. We learning life lessons, how to lay side. Floyd Griffin, not only our secondary coach, and I think was a great role model for a lot of us, a lot of African-American players at Northview High School. And not only that, he was a chaplain. Before every game, every meal, he would pray. And I just thought that was just so awesome. And then we had Randy Ragsdale before we practiced. He would lead us in devotion. It was FCA without FCA just being known what it is as we know it. But we couldn't ask for anything better. And Mitchell Sellers, Rick Cleveland, Coach Hicks, Mike Ferris, big FCA. I'm just grateful for all them guys because they coached us with dignity, man. They coached us with dignity. They didn't say things out of the way to us, but they just pushed us so hard.
A lot of dedication in those men. They saw stuff. They saw that the players and the men that we could all become. Want to welcome Jimmy McKenzie has joined us, and Mark Reeves.
Catfish.
Hello.
Mark, man, dude.
Number 7, Mark Reeves patrolling the backfield back there with you back in the day. And Mike, when was your first coaching job? What was the first time you were no longer playing, but now you were coaching?
Well, I got an opportunity to do a little grad assistant work at Florida A&M the first 2 years. And I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. to be able to now coach some of my former teammates, but also give back. And then I got an opportunity to coach at Ashford High School. So I coached at Ashford High School from about 93 up until 2005. Got my feet wet down at Ashford, really enjoyed it, Class 4A. And I remember while I was coaching down there, Coach Parrish even stopped by and he came and saw me come to practice, saw me coach a little bit. I got very excited seeing Coach Parrish at practice. I really I didn't want to let him down. I was really fired up when I saw him watching me coach.
Now, were you coaching basketball at Ashford or different sports?
Actually, he came during spring training, so that was really cool. So we was really fired up. So that was good. Right when he first left Georgia, but also when he went over to Georgia, I remember going over to see him. He and Kevin Jackson and we went over to see him when he had that kid, that Tay Cody kid that played at Florida State. He even told us that guy's going to be special.
Yeah. Well, very good. Harry Stanley just joined us. Hey, Harry. Thanks, bud, for stopping by. All kind of great names from back in the day, those mid-'80 Cougars. Well, let's jump back there, Mike. Did you go to Carver? Was that your middle school?
I did go to Carver.
And who were some of the guys who were in your Carver grades who ended up coming over to Northview when you did?
Well, Tony Thompson, my cousin, came over. Lawrence Dawson was a grade ahead of me. Right. And of course, he played tailback on the 8th grade squad, and I played it on the 7th grade. We had Kim Condry, who went over to Dothan, Alex Thomas. We had Marvin Lampley. We had a tremendous amount of guys. Ramon Bruner played in our program at Carver also. And the names just go on, and we kind of had a little attitude. If you played at Carver, you basically was some of the top dogs around. We knew Gerard was good. We knew you were over there. We know Sean Legree was over there. But by God, we wanted you guys to respect us. And but the main thing, you also heard of other great programs like Jonathan Parker came out of Beverly. Chris Parker was over there. Stacy Turnipseed. And then everybody had their own niche. Honeysuckle had Cassie Butler, had Mark Reeves, had Isaac Salter. So everybody had their own little niche. And one day we were saying, we're going to team up, man. And when we team up, it's going to be on. Matter of fact, Bernard, I remember one time walking right in front of Miss C's office, right there near the office, and Chris Holmes, Dawsey, and Butler walked by us. It was me, Pearson, probably Isaac Salter. And the first thing we said, man, look at them jokers. We're going to probably win 2 state titles. Not 1. We're going to probably win 2 with them.
Oh, you foresaw the future, my friend, but you're right. I remember coming out of middle school and playing those middle school games, and I wanted to know who all was on the other teams, other schools who were my grade, and were those guys going to be my teammates when we got into high school? And I used to study those rosters and I quizzed my 8th grade coaches, and I wanted to know who all these guys were. And you brought up some names like Turnipseed and Marvin Lampley and some others who ended up going to Dothan High, were such great athletes and contributors for their program, and thinking, man, I wish some of those guys would have been over with us, but that's okay. We had some battles with those guys. Ross Morris says, what about the house that rocks?
That's Ross Morris, baby. Big 3 technique. And I tell you what, and speaking of Ross, that defensive front we had, they were pretty daggum good. They were pretty good. Ragsdale, he did a super job of getting all those guys buying in. You got Ross, Manny Venegas, Lonnie Mathis. You had also Rick Cazenave and Chris Parker. Oh, my goodness.
And Rick Cazenave just signed on. Hey, Rick, good to see you. Thank you for coming on. Talking a little bit with Mike Henry here. Now, Mike, let's take you to 9th grade. You were a multi-sport guy. Did you have a favorite sport at that time? Did you know you were going to play football? What was going on? Because I know all those coaches were saying, I'm sure, Mike, we'll see you when practice starts. And that was probably for all those grades. I mean, all those teams.
Well, I tell you what, I'm glad you mentioned it, because something that made me laugh was Coach Griffin. When I came over, Coach Griffin, I mean, we used to have the 4-way track meet. He said, hey, good to meet you. He said, I heard you're All-American. I just started smiling. I said, no, sir. I said, I'm just a little athlete. He said, well, I heard you can almost do it all. Well, my first year, Bernard, I played football. I was the tailback for the 9th grade team. And then I played basketball also for Coach Cleveland and Coach Tribute. And then I ran track. Because I ran track in middle school. But I kind of hurt my shoulder my freshman year in baseball in spring training. Matter of fact, everybody that played football, remember what Steve Jackson did to my shoulder after I kind of got the best of him 3 times. Coach Parrish said, "Run again, Henry, run again." Well, you know what happened on that 4th time? I think Steve Jackson got mad. Ooh. So he hit me real hard and messed my shoulder up. So I didn't play. He hit me hard. I still can remember it. I didn't play baseball, but for a couple of days, my shoulders messed up. And I remember you guys out there. And then after that, my freshman year, I wind up coming back playing football, basketball, and baseball my sophomore year.
And if you remember, my sophomore year, your freshman year was the year we made it to the semifinals on the shoulders of Barry Hightower and Shaughnessy and all those guys. And we ended up losing to Fairhope in a 3-game set over at Northcutt Field. Butch Henderson just joined us. Hollywood, that's right. Now, Mike, let me ask you, when you were running track, so many of those guys I used to see training when we were doing our thing in the afternoon. Were you one of the guys who trained wearing combat boots?
No, I'm gonna have to leave that up to Reggie White and Marcus Palmer and Roger Mills. Those guys were wearing the combat boots.
I never could figure out why they did that. And I still to this day, I'm sure they had their reasons. I'm sure it improved their sport, but my gosh, that looked painful. That did not look like something I'd ever want to do. And Rick Casnay brought up a couple other names from mine and your grades on the defensive line. Joey Sheffield and Bobby Estes, of course.
Yes, definitely. Number 50 and big 92, I think that was his number. Oh, yeah.
Yep. Well, Mike, let's talk about going into your sophomore year. Let's talk about football that fall. We had an up-and-coming team. It wasn't on the varsity level. We didn't have a great season, but we were improving, and our JV had a very good season that year. And what was going on with you from a defensive standpoint, getting on the field, contributing? Where were you in the depth chart? What were you thinking?
Well, in the 10th grade, like you said, a lot of times you get an opportunity to play JV. But also, too, at Northview, we had 95 players. You had to earn to get on that field. Nobody was going to give you their spot. So I was a JV tailback. And I still remember Coach Andrews let me play in the JV game, and I had a lot of success. But a couple of nights, they let me play defense. Well, I kind of did myself in. I wind up running the ball good, scoring, and they let me play a linebacker. So I would probably average about 12, 13 tackles because I said, wow, I finally get to play defense again. And so they kept saying, Bubba Johnson says, Henry, you need to come over to defense. And I shook my head off and I said, no, I want to run the ball. But that spring, I think Big McAllister, he landed on my neck, and I will never forget it. And I was kind of scared and I was nervous. So I came back to school that Monday and said, Coach, I'm going to move to defense. So I wound up giving up the possibility of playing in the backfield with Dawsey and you, and wind up going to defense. So Isaac Salter, I want you to know that was going to be my position if I wanted to move.
So what you're saying is that Isaac took your touchdown in the state championship. Yeah, that should have been your play.
I tell you what, along with Dewey Bland's block, when he pulled on that trap, no, but we used to call Isaac Make It Smoke. He had another gear that a lot of guys didn't have, and nothing worked better with just run and shoot with Isaac back there with Dawsey and Ramon Bruner.
You're right. Ramon was a different kind of runner compared to LaRue, compared to Lawrence, and compared to all 4 of those guys had different speeds, had different talents, but you're right. And I used to just getting the ball to Isaac. He was so quick. It was tough for me sometimes to find him. And Coach Coach Andrews would get on to me, but I wasn't quick enough sometimes in that trap play. But let's talk about now, Mike, when you transitioned over to defense, what were you originally going to be playing some linebacker? Did they move you immediately to the backfield? Where were you headed?
Well, I also remember in the 10th grade when you looked out and you saw the DBs working under Coach Griffin, you wanted to just be part of it. And I think I saw on your show when you asked, what was those stations we used to go to? That was called Round the Horn. And those guys were working their butts off. And one thing about it, I even went over there some in the 10th grade because I love the way they work. And a lot of times we used to have a little saying, we do more in group than most people do all day, like the military, because Ford was really trying to run us all because everybody's tongue was just literally dragging the ground. But we wanted to play for him. So when I went from defense, from offense to defense, I realized in the 10th grade, if I was going to get on the field, I had to battle my way along with the helps of watching people like Captain, Roger Morris, Mark Reeves. Them guys were putting in a whole lot of work, and we wanted to be like them. Aristotle Kirkland was already over there. Derek Flowers came out our junior year. Tim Reynolds was already over there. Those guys were real good. Shane Woods was already there. Robbie Arnold was there. And we took pride in working and watching Butch and them do their drills and the passion they had. And I still remember this very vividly. Pine Kershaw, Bruce Johnson came to our workout. And man, the back pedal, the stand, stopping on the dime, all we wanted to do was be just like them. And I tell you, that group of DBs that worked before us and the ones we worked with, they made sure that nobody slacked. And so I just thought when I moved over there, I wanted to be part of that workhorse group.
You know, it was infectious. Coach Griffin just had a way. He just had his way of pushing the buttons the right way, getting the best out of those players. And you're right, even for guys who were throwing the ball against y'all, I was a little envious because I knew that was a tight group over there, some outstanding athletes, but even better guys and later men who, and I love my discussion from a few weeks ago with Bruce. I'm still trying to get Coach Griffin on here. I'm gonna get Shane Wood eventually. I'm gonna try and get Hollywood on here. We've got so many stories to tell, but one story I want you to tell is when you first started getting some varsity playing time. Do you remember your first game or your first plays? Where were you? How'd you feel?
Well, I tell you what, and you know, in the 10th grade, you over there saying offense, defense. I got tired of that, you know, but I got on the field through special teams. Old Coach Ragsdale used to say, kickoff team. And we used to go crazy just to run out there on the kickoff team. And the first 3 games, I know we were playing 3 deep. We had 2 corners and a safety. We had 6 down linemen. So the first 3 games, I'm over there on the sideline because there's not a 2 deep secondary or 2 groups of safeties. Finally, against Central Thomasville, that was a game Lawrence Dawsey came back. They gave us a lot of confidence. But we also implemented 2 safeties plan. So that got a chance for me and Shane Wood and some other guys to get on the field. And so I remember Coach Ragsdale saying that running back was wide open. And he said, Henry, you came out of nowhere and you made a stop. If you wouldn't have made a stop or tripped him up, he might have scored. Well, I didn't know that. But I think that was the game that gave them a little confidence in me. And I think it gave me some confidence. And of course, I think Dawsey mentioned it, that Charlie Ward also played on that Central Thomasville team. So that was the game that gave me a lot of confidence, the Central Thomasville game.
Well, I remember as the season wore on, while we were on the sidelines, you guys doing your thing, you know, I wasn't paying that much attention to what the defense was doing. We were trying to do our thing, just getting ready for our next series. But I remember as the season wore on that year, Mike, I began noticing you more and more. And what I mean by that is when I'd look up, 13 was in my vision somewhere near the play. And I remember you had, I want to say it was in the second league game, you intercepted that ball very late or picked up a fumble. Take us to that game. That's one I really remember. I don't remember how you got the ball. I just remember you had it.
Well, I tell you what, one thing helped me, Bernard, being on offense with you guys, it gave me a better understanding what on defense, what offensive teams would try to do. I understood motion. I understood that I had to collide with the fullback because I played some fullback in the 10th grade. And of course, everybody know LaRue was the real fullback. So that's why I had to get from over there because he wasn't going to give up that playing time. But anyway, against the league, in the league game number 2, first game I didn't hardly play. So I love the fact that I got a chance to play in the league game. The opening punt punt return, Pedro Swan took it all the way back. Me and Cassie turned around and looked at each other and said, oh my goodness, that boy's fast. So we're down 27-10, you know the story. Those big red bellies was just blowing us off the ball with Larry Ware. Ragsdale says, okay, guys, we're gonna go goal line. In the middle of the field, we're going goal line. I walked down from strong safety to maybe linebacker, and I could just tell you, I don't know what happened. All I know, they was punting. They were not scoring anymore. Then you guys went crazy. You looking guys off, hitting homes, and I got to, but I want to say this. As a high school coach, getting an opportunity to watch a quarterback do what you did back then, you look a guy off, and then you throw the opposite way. It throws a secondary completely off. You would hit Holmes, you would hit Hogan, and we back in the ball game. And then that last play, they did a flea flicker, like a double pass.
Right.
And all I knew is I came up some, and then the ball was thrown. I looked up and I turned around. Derek Flowers come out of nowhere like a meteor. And he just hit this, tattoos, and the ball pops out. I pick it up, and all I did, the ref hesitated to make a call. Then I'm begging. I got it in my hand, in his face. It's our ball. It's our ball. And when he said Northview ball, I like to went berserk running with that ball to our fans. And man, what a game. Oh my goodness, Bernard, what a game.
What a game. Oh, speaking of game players, Chris Parker just joined us. Hey, Chris, thank you for coming in, my friend. And Missy Wright Morris. Thank you, Missy, for stopping by a few minutes. Of course, I'm talking with Mike Henry, class of 87, number 13 on defense, hitting you hard every time. But Mike, talk to us a little bit about who was, if you can recall, who is the toughest players you had to go against in practice, and who are some of the tougher players you end up playing against in some of our games?
Well, I'll tell you what, the toughest guy that I dreaded was LaRue Freeman. I remember I used to collide with him, and they used to brag on Mike Henry, Ragsdale. Mike, you did your job big, and I'll tell you what, I like the way you're going in there just giving your body up. And I'm saying, man, I'm dead sore. LaRue is killing me. One day, LaRue, I got tired of colliding with LaRue. I just went ahead and I said, he ain't gonna run me over today. I just went ahead and laid down for him. I said, I'll fight another day, but I'm gonna lay down on this play. But anyway, LaRue was definitely a tough guy. Frank Flowers was a beast at wide receiver, beating you up, blocking, and he loved to beat you up. And Hogan was a mean guy too, and he talked trash. And Hogan was the reason why I got in the lineup. But I'm over there on the bench, and one day I kind of hit Hogan after the whistle had blown. He didn't like it, so he hit me with the football. He didn't know I was ready for that confrontation because I need to get some attention off of him. But anyway, we tossed him. Coach made us sit down, and next thing you know, Coach Mack just said, "Henry, come get on goal line defense." And I was like, "Yes!" I finally got in there.
Awesome.
But LaRue was one of the toughest guys, and then there are a couple of more guys that was also tough. Raymond Bruno was tough. He was hard to tackle one-on-one. And then when we played those other opponents, Dennis Tillman was a beast. Oh my goodness, he was
so fast, very fast. He could hit the corner as fast as anybody.
Yes, and then that was backs like Larry Ware, James Joseph, Sean Smith. I remember Coach Ragsdale showing us the film between Opelika and Central. He said, "Boys, you got your work cut out. You're gonna have to get ready. We're about to take on two of the best backs in the country." And man, I tell you, it's nothing like I never saw before in my life. And I'm glad we didn't have to go against James Joseph, but we went against Sean Smith.
For those of you who don't know who they are, James Joseph was at Central Phoenix City Parade All-America. Nickname was Bo Peep. Ended up playing in the pros for the Eagles and maybe somebody else. Played at Auburn, of course. And thankfully, we didn't have to face him because he got hurt in the first round of the playoffs against Dothan. And we ended up beating them 10-0 in the second round. But Sean Smith, also All-America at Opelika, I think either still holds or at the time held the state record for maybe the most interceptions or punt return yards, some major records, and ended up playing at Auburn as well. And both of those guys were as fine athletes as we ever faced.
Exactly. But I'll tell you, the list just keeps going. You're talking Cedric Smith, block for Emmett Smith. You're talking Larry Ware at Central Thomasville. Herbert Casey played at Foley. Calvin Flowers at Enterprise. And I mean, I just couldn't believe. And then I think Greg Taylor played at Opelika, also played at Auburn. That were players everywhere. We had a very, very good schedule that got us prepared for anybody that we were about to face.
I don't know if you know this, but did you know that Leon Lett was playing at Fairhope when we played them?
The big cat, Leon Lett. See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I want to welcome Jamie Green, Camille Price, Hunter Parrish, Edward Lee. Thank you guys for all stopping by with our talk with Mike Henry. Going back through some great memories back in the day. Mike, those practices that we had, I've had many who've been on here in conversations that I've had with other folks, that the practices really got you, obviously they got you ready for the games, but the games themselves you look forward to because the practices were so hard. You were so tired of butting heads against the LaRue Freemans of the world. You were ready to hit somebody else on a Friday night. Did you have a Thursday night going into Friday routine that you always stuck to during high school?
I did. Matter of fact, on Thursday afternoon, I look forward to getting done with practice. First of all, going in the locker, getting that Coca-Cola and that Snicker bar. That was like the best pregame meal that you could possibly have. And then also I would just basically go home. My mom, she would always fry some fried chicken, and I would have some fresh black-eyed peas or something. And my mom just loved to cook because I came home every day at the same time. So I would look forward to that. My brother may come by and he'll say, Mike, you got to be ready to go hard. And all I know is the DBs, we should just still away. We're still away in a little group. We'll probably start dancing, bopping our heads, rapping a little bit, and just trying to get ourselves psyched out to be ready to play for fourth quarter. Coach Griffin worked us so hard. They could run 1,000 routes at us. And I think every DB that played at Northview and played for Coach knew that we were going to be in shape, not only the fourth quarter, but we were ready for a little, even overtime. And of course, you know the story about the overtime games we played in.
Yeah, we only had 5 of them that year.
Now, close.
Tell me some of your favorite music back then. Did you have a certain bands or certain music you like to listen to? It's not like today where you just have the little AirPods today. Back then, we barely had anything over your ears. So rustic. I guess we're dating ourselves right now. But give me some of your bands. Give me some of your music from back in the day.
Man, you know everybody had a little Run DMC, and that was our best group probably. And it Walk This Way and them boys, Fat Boys. But we also had the rock band, Shot Through the Heart. You remember that, Bernard?
Oh, yeah.
That's our baseball music. So we had a little bit of everything back then.
We sure did. And I remember we ended up playing the Queen song, We Are the Champions, after it was all over with.
Yes.
Let's see, Mike, there's so many places I want to go with this. Let's take it off of football for a few minutes, and let's talk about maybe some classes that you enjoyed, or some of the school spirit, or some of the memories you have of just locker room or out in the school itself. Did you have any particular teachers you enjoyed, or maybe some teachers you just skipped their class because you didn't enjoy?
Well, I loved all of them. I remember first getting there in the 9th grade. I had Miss Cleveland, Coach Cleveland's wife, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, except for when I think Chris Parker or somebody, we made Miss Cleveland. It was he and I, we made Miss Cleveland mad. And then they told us to go see Coach Crawford Drake. And Mr. Drake knew we were athletes. He said, now, do we need to tell Coach Cleveland that you guys are acting up in his class? But what Coach Drake did, he made us relax, that if you guys be leaders in the school, we will make sure that we take care of you guys. So we didn't go see Coach Drake anymore because we didn't want him to tell Coach Cleveland, and she was sweet as can be. So Coach Cleveland, I want you to know, we acted up one time in class. That was it.
Awesome.
But also Miss Daughtry, I enjoyed Miss Daughtry so much. I enjoyed Miss Hanahan. Coach Griffin was the best when it just made you relax. And he used to tell us those big words, and we just thought that was the coolest thing. And he wore a suit to school every single day. We hadn't seen anything like that. And all the teachers cared. All the teachers worked hard. And Miss C, you know I love you. Tell Carrie I said hello. The best in all of the world. Yes.
Absolutely, Mike. One of my favorite times was, of course, after we won games, whether it was away or just driving back from Rip Hughes to the school, there'd be lots of cutting up on the bus or the buses, but there'd be lots of singing. And it was just some of the best memories of being with your teammates. And while you don't want to remember the losses, you obviously you do, because you learn lessons from those. But even when we were taking bus rides back after losses, Mike, I always tried to put myself in that moment and appreciate where I was, who I was sitting with, and what I was thinking. And much like you, I'm sure, critiquing how you played that game, and I could have done this or should have done that. And it's those type of lessons and what you're explaining or what you're sharing with us about dealing with, or not dealing with, but being with Coach Griffin and being with the DBs. It seems like you guys were so close knit, and you just learned and fed off of each other. There was such a camaraderie. I know there was a lot of athletic competition for playing time, of course, but above that, it just seems like you guys were just a band of brothers, I guess would be the best way to describe it. And am I hitting close to home? Is any of this resonating?
Oh, definitely, Bernard. One thing for certain, when we're talking to kids nowadays, we tell them they'll make memories for a lifetime. And then, of course, sports is just that vehicle that gives you a great overall experience. And I tell kids this: you're going to remember these guys. You cherishing, spending quality time, ups, downs, highs, lows, peaks, and valleys. And then that bond of brothers and that brotherhood is genuine. It's genuine because you still talk about these same things as if they happened 30 days ago, and you never forget them, and you just cherish them, especially if you went through adversity. Somebody injured their leg, or somebody couldn't play a game, or somebody had to come off the field. And I tell you, Bernard, it's not easy to be excited about Northview. It's not excited. It's what I mean by that. It's easy for me to get excited about Northview because of the great memories. Everything from the way we did our booster club. I still remember the first booster club meeting we had, because we dressed up. They fed us. We talked. They taught us to dress up, be neat. They taught us that our pep rallies are going to be second to none. We're going to take you to Western Sizzling or Western Steer and have a great pregame meal. We're also going to go to the movies before the game and get you away so you can relax. And then on Mondays, of course, the state championship week, we got a chance to practice on Legion Field before we actually played. And we took trailways everywhere. And I mean, everywhere. So that's the stuff that you remember, that you was part of a great program. I mean, in a great school.
Well, Mike, you've been coaching, and I'm not trying to age us, but you've been coaching north of 25 years now. And I know from other coaches who I've talked to on this show and other places, the evolution of the high school athlete has changed, like all kids, has changed over the years. We're now in I got to have it right now mentality. It's immediate, and it's a rare kid that doesn't have that. And it's not a criticism of kids. It's just the way society is now. But here's my question to you. How has your coaching technique, how has your ability to relate to the kids, how has that changed over the years?
Well, I tell you what, I remember Coach Parrish's way of doing things. Number 1, 2, 3 a days. We went 3 a days. We got there at 7 in the morning or 6 in the morning. We went home, we lift weights. About 1 o'clock, we went home for an hour, came back at 5 or 6. And so we knew we were going to get pushed when we had a chance to be good. Floyd Griffin used to tell us, give your bodies up. And, when we played in the secondary, when we played in the 85 team, we literally just gave our bodies up. We didn't care. Bull in the Ring, Oklahoma, 1-on-1, run till your tongue just drag the ground. But I tell the kids, you can't skip the process. You want to be victorious in the end. You want the championship, but you can't skip the process. So there's some certain things we got to do every day. We must improve every day. You must work hard every day.
Mike, talk to us a little bit about how your philosophies coaching on the hoops on the court have come from your training, just being a multi-sport athlete, because there's got to be a lot of transfer there. I know that basketball is a very unique sport, certain skills, certain athletes, but what have you taken from your experiences and you're trying to incorporate now with your kids who you're just getting to meet now for the first month?
Well, I tell you what, one thing I try to build on is the legacy. And I looked around when I was coming up, Bernard, that, you would hear about Wade Marson, and you would hear about Carver Junior High winning those state titles. You would hear about Coach Kirkland taking my brother and them. They went to New Orleans and played, and they played for quality tournaments. And then you would get to Northview and you hear about 81 team winning state titles, and then we played for one. You felt like it was just part of your DNA. It was part of your aura that, hey, you got to do things the right way. And then I tried to instill those things in those guys that you could start your own legacy. I tell them the game doesn't owe us anything, but we owe the game a whole lot. And I think everybody at Northview paid it forward, from the first coaching staff, the great running backs, the great wide receiver. My brother Marcus caught the first game-winning touchdown against Dothan. I still remember that. That was crazy. I remember Dwight Jones, not only at Northview, but at Carver Junior High, running crazy, and also Scooter McCray at the old Dothan High. I remember those guys. And I remember Reginald Jones and Daddy Fats, Steve Entz. Man, I remember all those guys. And if you played for Northview, Tim Whaley, oh my goodness. Tim Whaley was he was like Everson Walls to me. He was my hero from the same neighborhood. We came up together. Butch Henderson said, and when Butch told me this, it resonated with me. He said, look, these guys came out of our neighborhood. Johnson Home, Pye Whaley, Titus Whaley, Marcus Henry, Duke, David Reynolds. He naming all these. Reginald Jones, the next neighborhood. Dwight Jones, the next neighborhood. Daddy Fats right down the street. Cassie Butler right there. Aristotle Kirkland. Man, it was just like part of our aura. Marcus Paul. We had Sammy Floyd. We had to represent. We were right there together. I mean, we were really literally right there together. And we really had to represent. So when we got to Northview, we wanted to be like them. We were never good as those guys, but we used to say we were better than Pye and Kershaw, but we knew we were not. But we used to say it anyway.
Well, they set, Mike, they set such a high bar. They set such a high standard for everybody. And speaking of high standards, Mark Saffold just joined us. Hey, Mark, good to see you. Play. Another hard running back.
He worked out so hard. Yes.
Jamie Green says he also remembers all these guys you just mentioned. His brother Todd Green played on those first teams, and all those names ring a bell. And Mark Saffold says hello. Joseph Johnson, hey, JJ, thanks for stopping by. And Stephen Collins, Kevin Collins' younger brother. Kevin was my grade. Thank you, Stephen, for stopping by, guys. Whole bunch of great names. We're talking with Coach Mike Henry, and we're just living some good dreams, some good times that we've shared. Mike, let's talk a little bit about baseball, because I know that was your love as well. It was, you were a man for every season, that's for sure. And I used to enjoy playing in the infield when you were pitching, my friend. And Coach Johnson, he had us going for a few years there. That was a lot of fun, those days playing at Northcutt Field.
He really did, Bernard. And I'll say this, before we talk about me in baseball, I remember you in baseball. And I still remember when you came from Vandy playing football and you tried out for the pros. You and I was out there together, and you outplayed me. I just said, now, how did he do that? But you played so well that day. I really thought that was very impressive for a guy who hadn't been playing full time like I had been playing. And I just wanted to say that. But we had some great memories, Bernard, together. And Coach Johnson had a great, he had a great program. We didn't wait. We didn't want for anything. We ate very well everywhere we went. We had the best of the best. And I'm grateful to have that experience of playing for Northview, playing with you guys, Tony Kirkland, Troy Jones. Man, we had it good. And also starting that baseball field where it's the home field of the Dothan Wolves now, which is old Northview. Coach Johnson laid that sod, and I stayed a lot of afternoons because that was my way home. And I remember, Bernard, when we played with the Bombers, you and I battled for shortstop, and I had to move to second. You beat me out. It was a great battle, though.
And if you remember who else was on our team, Jonathan Coe, Robbie Arnold, Cassie Butler. We had
Condry.
Yep, sure did. I'll find that team picture and I'll send it to you. But,
excellent.
But Mike, we're getting close toward the end of our discussion, and boy, this has been a lot of fun for me, and I hope that it has been for you. But now over your shoulder, I think I see a number 13 jersey that I want. If my eyesight's right, is that a Northview 13 behind you?
Yeah, it is, Bernard. It's a Northview 13.
You got to hold that up, my friend. You got to show us that jersey.
Let me see. Can I get it, Bernard? Hold on. All right, here it is, Bernard.
Look at that. Look at that looking jersey. And how much did those jerseys weigh back in the day? My gosh, they probably weigh half of that now. Those things.
Exactly, man. And this one here has the breathe through holes because they know in South Alabama it gets real hot. And I'm glad they designed this one that way. And but nowadays they make them all kind of ways. They got them real tight to the shoulder where the D lineman can't grab the O lineman in the backs. So it's kind of unique how things have evolved.
Yeah, I remember when it would rain, those jerseys would weigh, it seemed like it'd weigh 50 pounds. But I'm glad we didn't wear the tight ones because I didn't have anything to show there. So I was happy for those jerseys. But Mike, I want to leave you with the last word. I want you to, and this may be tough, but I want you to share just what does it mean to you to have played and gone to school and graduated from Northview High School? Well,
you know what, to be able to go to Northview, which was the new school that was erected around 78, 77, 78, when my brother was part of the first class. That was awesome in itself. Some people were reluctant to go to the new school, but yet it was it wound up being a great story for those who went and walked those halls. 81 winning the state title, and then we got an opportunity to follow suit. I remember coming in, they showed us the video of the state championship game, and we all imagined ourselves trying to make plays like those guys. They were like major SEC players to us, watching the video in the 9th grade. And then to play in such a great program and win a state title, that was awesome. Those memories will last forever. And some of the memories of the great games and the great competition will always be etched in our hearts. And then also to be able to look around and see people doing great things. And for example, yourself and your brothers having a legacy of playing for Northview. Eric Easley, when I looked at his story, heard online, to hear him talk about 5, 6, 7 Easleys coming through the program. I thought that was so touching. I know Joe very well. Reginald Jones, Dwight Jones, all those things were just synonymous with our community. No matter where you came from, when you got to Northview, we were one. And I got a little message for everybody. Those teammates, those brothers that you played with, they are dear to the end. And I don't think nothing can change that. And I don't think nothing will change that. And we have to kind of also hold on to those great moments of brotherhood. And no matter what happens, like for an example, Dothan Wolves, we're so happy for them with their starting anew. But that was nothing like Northview. That was nothing like the old Dothan High Tigers, if you ask a Dothan High Tiger. Those memories belong to us. And we're going to always cherish those memories.
Mike, I couldn't have said it any better, my friend. You're such a student of the history of the school, of the brotherhood, of the games, of the memories themselves. And you're setting a legacy yourself. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're heading into maybe your 26th or 27th year of coaching.
That's correct. This is start my 28th, actually. But I tell you what, I owe it to great coaches and teachers that have paved the way, and teachers like the late Miss Edna McCloud and Miss Laurie and all those great people, man. I don't know what to say. Coach Tribute, I still remember him every day being a dignified teacher and standing tall. He was a big, strong man. And I'm so grateful for everybody that was part of our legacy, that was part of our history, that nurtures. You remember Master Sergeant Hogan, ROTC guy, Lieutenant Colonel Hills. Those guys had their own program. They were so sharp. Those guys was in the ROTC drill team, was so precision. we just had the best of the best in everything we did.
Well, Mike, I can just knowing you and listening to your enthusiasm and how infectious it is, you're setting the example for the people you're involved with by your actions, by your words. I feel pretty confident that you've got a coaching legacy and a coaching tree that you're creating as well. So I wish you the continued success. I want to see where the Carroll High basketball team is headed in the right direction. We're going to be watching out and listening out for you. So I wish you the very best. And I thank you for spending some time with us this evening.
Thank you so much for what you do for us and our legacy with the Northview Forum.
Well, guys, this is another awesome interview with a Cougar great, as we try to every Wednesday, Conversations with Cougars. Next week, and this may put a smile on your face, Mike Henry, I got my buddy Chris Lee is going to join me. Chris is he's one of two linemen that I actually weighed more than my starting lineman my senior year. I won't get into that right now. We'll get into it next week, but he was as tough as nails. But guys, That's it for now. Thank you. Y'all be safe. We're going to get through this pandemic. I say it every week, but we are. It's just going to take a little bit of time. Y'all be smart about things. Be patient. Do the right thing. Use common sense. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you later.